session. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And you guys are gonna have to bear with me. I was working on this problem. Remember Liz last night when I was talking about how I'm only doing hard data structure and algorithm problems from now on.
Oh yeah.
So I was I still have it open. Yeah. So I'm working on this one right here. And it has like
Just look at the functions and looking at all these different things, and it's just still very new to me how to just visualize all of that into the things that we normally would visualize, like the binary trees and all that, and how it looks at different areas, basically.
yeah, my advice on that would be just go to Leet Code. Like go to Leet Code. Say you go to Leet Code and let's just say you choose any problem. Let's just say dynamic programming. Go to like start with an easy one, you know, do like Pascal's triangle or something like that. And so this one has a visualization, which is actually rare, but
Yes.
but just go to the solutions. If you're new, go to the solutions. Find the one that's your language. So like go to like they got JavaScript here, right? JavaScript or whatever language you use. Click on a JavaScript solution, and then just you can literally copy and paste this, and then debug it. Just go through it line by line, and just I know it's tedious. I know it's gonna give you a little headache in the beginning. It still does for me too. That's what I did with this one right here, and eventually it's gonna start making sense to you. Like it's nice to visualize too, but you also have to understand how it's working step by step. If you know how it's working step by step, then you'll actually understand it regardless of whether you're able to visualize it or not.
Nice.
Yeah. So, all right. Let me go ahead and what's up, Aditya?
Hey, hi. Yeah, I was just saying use needcode.io if you want to like start as a beginner. I just posted that link on the chat. Like that platform is like for anyone who is a beginner. Like it literally explains you like gives you a structure of how what data structure to first start to solve a problem. It gives you like a roadmap.
Yeah, Neat Code is good. I like that.
Like
They
literally
have a
all like
YouTube channel too, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I know like couple of people who are like crazy coders like in lead code and they say they have recommended like neat code. So
Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
for a beginner. Especially if you're new to it. It's gonna give you the perfect problems to
yeah,
work through too.
beginner and it basically builds you to advance as well. So it also has advanced data structures. But like if you want to start as a beginner, it first like better to go with this.
Yeah, it gives you a nice roadmap. Leak code much a knockoff? What's that mean, T?
No, I thought there was like a typo, but there isn't. It's neatcode.io. It's not LeetCode. I'm sure you've heard of LeetCode before.
Oh yeah. This person just teaches it. Yep. Cool.
Yeah, very similar in like website URL. It's like a play on words. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right. So if we come back and we look at what we have so far, let's just same thing. Let's just pop into our GitHub repo so we could take a quick look at this. Volunteer search had pushes. I updated this just a few minutes ago before the session. So this is all up to date. If you come over, hey,
Sorry, I wanted to say, Aditya, we took your styling stuff off. I mean, I thought we were gonna go with that homepage, in like design or logo, but I guess we're not doing that. Just wanted to like give him heads up since he wasn't here last time.
the homepage
Yeah, no
logo.
worries.
Homepage logo.
There was
I
a
mean, actually, I didn't when I made the changes, I didn't send you that image which we used.
Oh, you guys made
that's
some
what
modifications to the homepage.
Mhm.
Jim, a question before we start.
You could hold on before you ask though. You can always add that too. Just create a new branch and make the request, and I'll go ahead and merge it if you want to.
Yeah,
Because it
I'll
looked
do
good.
that. I'll do that and I'll let you know.
Yeah, it looked good. It didn't look bad, but we were just focusing mostly on just like getting the logic correct, and then after we get this feature like set up logically and functionally, it's just working perfectly. That's what we're actually gonna do next. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add some really nice styles to it, at least during the first session. So the first introduction session, we'll start focusing on like styling it, and then for like once this feature is basically done functionally, we'll have some people who are intermediate and advanced move on to just the next feature. But yeah, let me know. What's up, James?
I'm familiar with the Bootstrap and a lot of the other stuff. I'm just wondering, since I don't know all the tools, I'm wondering what else could be a good addition to all these different CSS descriptions.
Yeah, I was planning to add some Sass, like a preprocessor, just so people could get their hands dirty with a framework, with a CSS framework. Yeah, it'll probably get to that eventually. As far as adding Bootstrap, maybe. I definitely want people to understand, because there's like a reason why we're staying away from React and Angular, just so people could really learn and master JavaScript. And I feel like it's the same with CSS. Like if you really know and understand CSS, moving to something like Sass or Less or Bootstrap, especially moving to something like Bootstrap or Chakra UI or one of these other design systems, Material UI, they're so easy. Like if you understand CSS, you could do anything else. So like the hard part is just learning and mastering CSS. After that, everything's easy. So I wouldn't be in a rush to like jump to a framework. I'd really focus on the fundamentals as much as you can, because everything else will come easy the better you understand the fundamentals. What's up, James?
Are you familiar with the good debugger for JavaScript? I mean, the other languages that I use, like C#, I use Visual Studio, and the debugger is so great. You go through the code. So sometimes when you look at the code, and for instance, when you click on a HTML element, you go immediately to JavaScript. JavaScript picks it up, and you could see in other languages exactly the flow of what's happening, but I haven't found anything like that for JavaScript.
Yeah, there's a debugger in JavaScript. Like if I go to my my JavaScript file right here, and let's just say I want to debug like this show search results function, I'll just click this red mark right here where I want to start debugging and where I want to end debugging, and then I go to the debugger and I'll just run and debug. And you could debug the functions just line by line, and you would step through it the same way you do through C#. I've been playing with C# lately, and I like it because the debugger is like built in. Once you could go to compile the code, it's automatically debugging it. So yeah, you're gonna have to, you could get this going. You'll just have to set up your debugging environment and the debugging tool for JavaScript. So it's a little bit more manual, but yeah, definitely something you can do.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before we get started? And feel free. I feel like we should just take a few minutes, especially like in the beginning of the introductory, and maybe even at the end, just for people to ask questions, just so there's like a time where people don't feel like they're like stepping into the lesson or the work.
Well, I do want to ask something about the overall outlook of the web page. Like, do we want special graphics? Do we want to simplify things? Do we want bare bones? Just a little layout of what would it look like? Because I figured it's best practices just to do something like that.
Yeah. So as far as actually adding any styles, any images, anything right now, no.
Okay.
We're just going to focus on wiring this up. If somebody is like, hey, I want to focus specifically on styling, like a DT the other night and T, they worked on adding some styles, that's totally fine. Like if you just want to take a night to work on styles with somebody else and add some CSS, create your own branch, and yeah, we'll just push it. Styles just don't matter right now because eventually we're gonna come back to this Figma and we're gonna create a hi-fi wireframe. So we're gonna turn this lo-fi wireframe into a wireframe that actually looks good, looks modern,
Nice.
looks fresh, and then we're gonna take those styles and we're gonna apply them to this feature here. Yeah, so it's all gonna look modern. It's all gonna look fresh by the time we're done with it. Right now, it just looks like really, really plain. Cool. All right. What's up, Janice? I saw you just pop in. Yeah, you can debug JavaScript in Chrome. I mean, I never really have to use debugger, honestly, for the most part. There's always errors if something's wrong. Though sometimes you'll get, sometimes your code just won't be working and there are no errors showing up, so it's like just something logical that's not working. So in that case, it's nice to have try-catch blocks and tests written for all your functions. But yeah, we'll definitely get to testing in the more advanced stuff there. There's something I definitely need to do more of too, but I love writing tests. You just feel so much better about your code because then you know if anyone changes this render home or anyone changes any of these functions that it's still going to do the same exact thing. You don't have to worry about someone changing it in a way that it's gonna like negatively affect the site. So all right, let me go ahead and invite everybody in here. I'll start a collaboration session.
Jim, sorry, one last question.
Yeah.
When you send us the link to collaborate, is there any way we can live preview the HTML page where we are all collaborating?
Yes, I believe if I do go live. Yeah, so if I do go live, so I just created a live share server, and then I believe if I do share server, and then I enter the port here. All right, so I have a shared server. So when you pop into my live share, I believe you could only share the server if you open up through Visual Studio Code, though. Most of the time when it says, do you want to log in through the browser or do you want to log in through Visual Studio Code, I know most people log in through the browser because it's just easier. But I think to do shared server, you actually have to open it up in Visual Studio Code. So try that out and let me know. But yeah, you should be good. All right. So we have everything working. The next thing we want to build is, what we want to do is we want to add an event listener to this card so that when we click the card, that it'll navigate us to the correct details page. And so just starting from the top, we have our volunteer list and our volunteer opportunities each have an ID. These IDs are what we're going to use to navigate to the correct page. So for this opportunity would be ID 0. For this one would be ID 1. This one would be ID 2. And whatever the ID is, if there's a match, then that's the one we're going to use. And so, show search results. Let me go ahead and let me make a couple quick changes to this file just so we could organize things a little bit better. I'm just gonna organize them in order of like, just so it's a little easier to understand what's what. And eventually we're gonna break these out. got our home. Oops. Anything within the home page, anything that has to do with the home page is going to go right here. This is going to make it easier to break it into the model view controller as well. Show search results. This is actually our volunteer list page. All right, so we have our volunteer list page.
Hey Jim, just quick question. Are we console.logging this stuff for like each card or
Hold
or is
on.
it not necessary? Yeah.
Console.logging.
Yeah, like to see you know, I think I should probably I'll chat GPT that.
Yeah, no. What are you talking about? Console.logging. Like as we work through this feature that we're adding today, are we going to console.log some of this stuff so we could see it? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, or just to understand it a little bit. Only because I've never really console.log much stuff. So I'm not really sure if it's something that you know, we have to we have to leave on our code, or we just do it like once in a while just to check to see if like things are good to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to leave it in the code, but it's nice to log things to the console to make sure it's set up correctly, for sure. So it's definitely something we could do. All right. So we have our core stuff. We have our volunteer details page. We have our volunteer list page. We have our home, and then this is just like data that all of the pages are using. Basically, this will probably be the first thing we extract just out to like a data file until we start pulling it from local storage. But all right, so today what we're doing is we want to add an event listener to this search results div. That way, when somebody clicks on this search results div, depending on the card that's actually clicked, we're going to pull this ID off of the card that was clicked. And then we're going to use this ID we're going to pass it into our render volunteer details page, and we're going to use that ID to find the correct volunteer opportunity and then render the correct page, basically. So let me think of a good question to ask that'll get everyone thinking. So, all right, here's a good one. So how do we add the event listener to this div here? Because when I click on this volunteer card on the home page, we're going to go here, and it's automatically going to show us a list of all of our volunteer opportunities. So this search results div contains all of these cards right here. So when we click, basically, let me show you where it starts and where it ends. So we have our search, and we have our search results. So search results is basically everything from the top of the first card all the way down to just above the footer. So all the cards contained in there is the search results div. We want to add an event listener to this search results div so that when we click on this card right here, that this div says, hey, an event just happened. Someone clicked. How do we do that?
Just to clarify your question, when someone goes to that page, everything is going to show up.
Yes. Initially, yes.
So that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and when we do, I'm gonna add this to the HTML right now, just as like almost like a console.log, but actually on our cards. So I'm gonna go ahead and do vol.id. So when we come here, you can see this one is 0. This one is 1. See how now the IDs are attached to the cards? So if I look at, let's go here.
So what makes it, makes it that way? The vol.id makes it like that?
Vol.id, yeah, because here,
So what,
inside the
okay.
search results, we're looping over the array that contains all of our objects. So this array contains all of our objects. In the search
Right.
results div,
Yeah.
here on line 185, we're looping over that array of objects, and for each one of the objects, we're rendering a card. And so when I do render card, if you look at line 185, you can see render card. We're passing in volunteer. Volunteer is the object. That actually we all created an object yesterday. Volunteer is that object that we created yesterday. So
Right,
like,
right.
so now this vol right here is still that object. So when I pass the vol.id to this div, the container of our volunteer card, you can see how there's a data ID attached to this card. See how there's an
So-
ID attached to every card?
Yeah, I understand that. But like, how is the volunteer? Like before that, there is no, we didn't give that a we haven't defined that variable. We have to define that variable first, don't we? Or
Well-
how does the computer know that when you say vol, it means volunteer? We haven't defined that. We haven't created a variable for that.
Yeah, so
Or have
this is just a function definition. So this is just a blueprint of what the function does. So when I say like take vol, it doesn't even have to be like vol. I could just call it like,
But it does, right? Or I mean, because it's rendering the volunteer.
I could call it parameter.
Hmm.
I could call it whatever I want, because this is just a blueprint of what we want this function to do. What we want this function to do is return a string with some dynamic JavaScript data. Where what we pass in actually matters happens here when we actually call the function. Because here we're actually passing in the object.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Yeah,
okay,
so
that's
let me take advantage of this to do a console.log for you. So let's do this.
So the console.log just lets you know what's going on in the background, not on the front page, not on the user side of the website or the whatever phone, right?
The console.log.
It lets you know what the computer is working on in the background. Like, if a person clicked on something, it would show the console.log did that, or like the person clicked on something,
Nah, you were right,
It gives
Ricky.
it
Go
back
ahead,
up.
put the parenthesis right there. The console.log is just going to log out anything you want to the console.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so right here, we're creating a card. Render that card, join is not a function. So we actually do this. So when we click this card right here, or when we create this card right here, watch. Let me do console.log volunteer so you could actually see. We're going to console.log out the volunteer object so you can see when I click this. For every card that exists, we have an object.
Yeah, we have an object, then we have a variables to the objects.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So that
Yeah, but,
console.log is just for every single time we map over this array here. For every single one
It'll
of
give us
these,
that
it's going to give us a
information.
console.log. Yep.
Yeah, so like I guess my question really I'm trying to understand is like why does like what is the kind of purpose behind it if I guess there really isn't a real reason other than just checking to see if your code is accurate or not.
Yeah, just to see what the actual value is.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Like if this wasn't printing cards, I'd be like, why isn't this printing cards? Like if I clicked on this and there were no cards, I'd be like, what the heck? These are blank. There's no description. There's no title. What's going on here? Then I would do a console.log volunteer just to see like what is volunteer? What's being passed here? Just to see like what is this?
You don't wait, so we just don't want to leave the console.log there. We want to take it out once we're done.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yep.
All right, cool. So we do want to add an event listener here. So we did do this the other day where we were like, okay, we can't add a console.log, or we can't add now you got me thinking about console.logs. We can't add an event listener to this div right here unless this right here is rendered. And this right here doesn't become rendered until 192. So where are we going to add the event listener?
On the search results div.
Yes, for this div right here. Where are we going to create the event listener for this? Perfect. Does everyone understand why he's doing it right here and not somewhere else?
I'm guessing it has to be within the parameters of that function, but I'm not quite sure why you picked the bottom of it.
So
because I mean, line by line, I get that, but
who knows why he's doing it down here underneath all the rest of the function?
Oh, well, I didn't intentionally pick that place. I guess anything below 192? Anything below line 192.
Yes. Yeah. Because this is where we actually change the HTML. This line is where you're actually injecting this markup into our HTML. So when you see this change, when you see all this stuff happen, it's on this line right here. Until this line right here, all this is being stored. Like, let's go ahead and just delete this line. Let's go back. Actually, yeah. So we're gonna get. I think we're. Oh. We're just. Let me comment this out. See. So now, when I go to render our volunteer list, it's just not rendering. Well, also we're trying to call an event listener on something that doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and do this. See, when I click this, now it's not doing anything. Like, this function is still running when I click this. It's still running. It's running every time I click this. How do we know? How do we know this is running?
console.log.
Otherwise, I wouldn't know, right? Maybe it is running, maybe it's not. Yes, and I see that this is running. Every single time I click it, this function is running. But nothing is changing until I actually inject the markup into the inner HTML. Only now does this change. This is where you actually add this HTML to the document. So you can't add an event listener to a div that doesn't exist, basically. So whoever was typing that, was that Ricky? Feel free to keep going.
That leads me to a question, though, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Could you theoretically put an on-click within the div so that when it renders, it's clickable? Like on 184?
When it's right here, it's still not rendered, technically. It's only rendered right here. But you're saying add an event listener, just on-click?
On-click. What's the syntax?
You can do that. I don't do it.
Yeah.
Why? Why don't I do it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Just best practice, like the way that I was taught was you don't add JavaScript to HTML, though we do have HTML all throughout our JavaScript right now. So
Right.
Okay.
you're gonna have
What-
people in the industry who are like, this is the best practice, this is the best way to do things, but like functionally and efficiency wise, it's not any more difficult. Like it's still the same efficiency at the end of the day. You're still adding one event listener to the div, but maybe for readability, maybe for clarity and readability, that would be my guess.
Wouldn't the best line be 193 instead of 3 more lines down for clarity?
193.
Yeah.
Why?
Right under the place where you render, when you render the markup. Know that the reason we're putting it under there is because the markup has to be rendered before we can do that, the listener. But when you're looking at the code, the newbie's coming back to look at the code, or even when you come back to look at the code 3 months later, it's a little clearer that you're putting the listener under where you're rendering the markup page.
Yeah, I think this is all just like, you know, we're pulling teeth. You know, like if you ask 100 people, you're gonna get 100 different answers. You know, like
Okay.
it's all gonna depend on who's actually writing the code. Like Liz said, some people are gonna have their on clicks here just because they like it. It's easier. They don't want to create these event listeners here. They don't want to create extra JavaScript code. It's easier for them to just add the on click here. Some people are gonna put this before this. Like which one comes first? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's all doing the same thing. And we're not gonna stick with this architecture anyway, so we're gonna be moving away. As far as like exact implementation details, I don't think it really matters, honestly. It's all just like what do you like doing? So we have our search results container. Get element by ID, search results. All right, cool. And then we just need to add an event listener onto this. Does someone want to go ahead and do that?
Hold up. What's our function name? Render volunteer list.
Render details, I believe. Let's see. What is the one? What do we want to load?
Render volunteer details.
Render volunteer detail. Yes.
Missing anything or no?
Does the render volunteer details need anything? Good question. What do you think?
Looks the same as 195, so I'm going to say no.
Looks the same as
Wait.
this one right here.
Or maybe it needs vol. Hold on, let me scroll down. Or does it need ID?
Exactly. It needs ID.
We have to pull that ID. Otherwise, what was the point of all that?
Cool, cool. So we have our ID. Good to go. And then, so that should be good to go. We got search results,
Wait,
search
but
results button.
Yesterday, Jim, you mentioned something about the closest function.
Yes.
Wasn't it something to do with closing the loop between? How do we know what ID? What's ID on line 199? What is ID?
ID on what line?
199.
199. Oh yeah. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. You'll see. So this looks good for now. Let's keep this here. And all right. So we wanna run this function, right? What do we need to make this function happen? We need an object, right?
Are you talking? I'm sorry. I think the thing muted.
Yeah. Oh, you can hear me though, right?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, but you were saying something about an object, and then it stopped.
Yeah. So when we render volunteer details here, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna target this root. So we're gonna target this root right here, same as we did with the other methods. We're gonna create this markup, and then we're gonna inject this markup into our HTML. But right now we have all this static content, and so we need to find a way to dynamically render this. So how do we get our object? How do we get the correct object based on the ID? Like if we click on, let me try to make this clear. If we click on this first card with an ID of 0, how do we get this 0 ID? And Ricky gave everyone a hint. He's asking really, really good questions, so think about it. So Liz passed the ID into the function, which is okay.
ID is referencing. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead. I was just gonna ask more questions.
Yeah, so I thought like, okay, so the ID is referencing the card IDs for each card.
Yes.
So it's gonna render those. That's why you put an ID there.
Put an ID where?
On line 199.
Yes. So
Yeah.
All right, so let's ask this. Do we need this ID?
Yes.
All right. So if we were going to, let me ask you this. Where do we get this ID? Like in this function right here, where is the ID coming from?
It's referencing back to the object and the variables.
No.
No? Okay.
Well, for us to pass this ID into here, we're going to have to access it somewhere in this function, right? So do you see an ID? Do you see, like, where are we getting the ID from in this function? Let me ask you
Page
that.
volunteer list.
Volunteer list.
Okay.
So from
There's
inside
two
of
ID.
inside of here, right? But specifically where?
That's a good question. Can you scroll up? Can you scroll up further?
Actually, I should scroll down actually, because you're getting it down here.
Oh, okay. From the vol.id.
Vol.id. Exactly.
Yeah, because that's a literal, and God, this is so abstract. Freaking love it. Okay, go ahead.
So when we click on this add event listener, this function is automatically going to get access to an event object. So let's go ahead and just check that out really quickly. So if we do perfect time for a console.log. All right. So we're going to get access to an event object when we click on this method right here. So let's go ahead and test that out and see what happens. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Oh, ID is not defined. So we'll go ahead and cut this out right now because, like I said, like where in this function is ID defined? It's not defined anywhere. So we're going to get ID is not defined. But we'll go ahead and just cut this out for now so I can show you the event object. All right. So you can see that when I click on one of these cards, we get an event. And this event object is going to give us a target, the actual element that we clicked. And on this target, we're going to have a data set. And the data set is going to contain our ID. So I'm not going to write this out for you guys. I'm going to let y'all try to pull this ID off of the event. But basically, right here, we have access to this event object that I just printed out. This event object has a property called target, and the target has a property called dataset. And the dataset has an ID. So it's going to be like e dot target dot, and actually, let me go ahead and just make it a little bit more clear. You're still going to have to store this in a variable, but let me show you e.target. So if we go ahead, refresh, and then I click on this again, the target was the h2, right? Because I clicked on this div right here. The target was an h2. So you see, the ID is on the card. So if I click on the description, that's what I'm getting. If I click on the H4, that's what I'm getting. If I click on the object, the location, that's what I'm getting. So where I click is going to give me an element. And so we have e.target, and then if I do e.target dot dataset, let's see. If I click on description, what do we get? We get an empty data set because our description doesn't have any data attributes attached to it. See our description? There's no data attribute here. There's only a data attribute on our card. So what if I click on? See, even still, that's the image. There we go. So if I click at the bottom of the card, then I'm actually hitting the container and I get an ID. So how do I make sure that no matter where I click inside of this, it always returns the container and not one of the internal elements? And we talked about this yesterday. Ricky mentioned it.
So it would be the closest method.
Yes.
Right? But I'm not sure what the syntax would look like.
So let me just do this. Closest, and because I'm just gonna console.log this, and after we figure out how to target it, then I'm gonna have y'all like store it in a variable, pull out the data and all that stuff, which is gonna be a little challenging, but you guys will get it, don't worry. So if I do e.target.closest, because target's gonna be the actual element, right? And then I want to find the closest one to the element that was clicked. And I want to pass in volunteer card because I always want it to be volunteer. As long as I click one of these elements inside of the volunteer card, I want the event to bubble up to the volunteer card. So if I click volunteer card right here, and then I click this, and 241. There we go. Forgot the dot. So I click on this card, boom. No matter which one I click on now, description, I still get the volunteer card. Title, I still get the volunteer card. Location, I still get the volunteer card. So this is gonna bubble up regardless of the actual target. It's gonna bubble up to the closest volunteer card, basically whatever container is containing the element that was clicked, and you're gonna get the card that you want. So you can see ID 1, ID 2. This should show ID 5, ID 5. So we're good. Then this element has a data set on it. So if I click on this element here, let me go ahead and should be able to access it just like this. So you see, we're able to access the data set. And then if I do dataset.id, and let's just click like 3. Now I get this 3 right here. And then I could use this 3 to iterate over this array and find the one with the ID that matches 3. And so I'm gonna let everybody here give it a shot. It's gonna be a little challenging, don't worry. Mistakes will be made. That's totally okay. But we created a function to handle the click, so that's done. Pull the correct element from the event target. So let's just say find the container, find the accurate container, because we're trying to find whatever container was clicked. Basically, a card is a container that contains all the other elements. So find the accurate container or card. Pull the ID off of the correct container that was selected using dataset and its properties. And then, yeah, just do that for now. So find the accurate container. The code's gonna actually go right here. So let me put it in the right place, and then we'll give everyone a chance to try it out. And I want everybody in here. We got T, Ivinko, Javier, Liz, and Ricardo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 lines. Everybody go ahead and just write that code there. Even if I know it's the same as that code, it's doing the same thing, just give it a shot. Clicked card. Nice. Yeah, I like this. I like seeing everybody doing it. Instead of just like one person trying it, you know? This is better. Volunteer card. Beautiful, beautiful. Who did this? 245?
Ricky?
Nice, nice. Good job, good job. Liz looks like she's got it. Nice, nice. Where you at, T? Who else is in here? Looks like everyone's giving it a shot. Good job, good job. Cool, cool. Ivinka, let me ask you, where are you storing this value? There you go. You got it.
Sorry, yeah, I'm still trying to understand. Going back to the part where you were talking about it.
Even it's okay if you don't understand. Just go ahead. We got a couple people who did it perfectly, so go ahead and just give it a shot. Just type the code just so you could get the muscle memory at least. What are you up to here, Javier?
I'm totally lost.
It's all
Just
good.
Lost.
one thing.
You're good.
So the target that identifies the closest as the ID card, and then you put it into the target over here, and you insert that into the linked card, which is where is the linked card located?
The linked card is located. Well, when we click on this volunteer, we basically have a list of cards. And so when we click on one of these cards, where we clicked is the target, basically. We're going to get the target is the element that we clicked.
Okay.
And then the way that we get the actual card is by running closest on the target. Because if, let's just say that we click on this card that has a 3 inside of it, but we actually clicked on the description, we're going to get the event object, but we want the event to trickle up to the outside of this card right here. We want the actual container, because the container is what contains the ID. The container is what has the data ID on it. And so if we just did e.target and we stored our e.target in the click card, we're not always going to get the card. There are going to be times where we get the title. There's going to be times where we get the location. There's going to be times where we get the description, depending on the element that we clicked. But this closest is going to make sure that no matter what element we click on the inside of this card, that the event trickles up to the card that contains that element, basically.
And it always has to be less or equal to 3. I mean E.
Less or equal to... What do you mean?
Because, or is it more than or equal to 3 when the clicked card gets activated? So that it's for the volunteer card that is targeted by E, that translates to this, and then through the constant render volunteer details, you get that sorted out.
I'm not positive exactly what you're asking, but let me show you something. Let me just give you a little bit more information too. So we have the event object, right? So inside our render, let me just do like 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So this actually isn't going to be a function. Got a couple semicolons here. Cool. All of these look good. It looks like everybody got the dot as well, which is nice. So when we console.log this E, watch this. So if I click on this first card right here, whether I click on the image, which is basically contained at the top, I'm still going to get the event object, right? And this is just console.logging out the event. So this is a pointer event. Because I used my mouse, I clicked it, that's a pointer event. There's like tons of different events. You don't even have to memorize them because there's just so many. But you get an object, and this object is going to give you some information. So if you want to find out what I know by this object is that I clicked inside this search results container. Because look, if we come back up here, we added an event listener to our search results container, right? Right here. Our search results container contains all of our cards because we mapped over the list of our cards. And so if there's 10 cards in our volunteer list, then we're going to print out 10 cards. If there's 5 cards, we're going to print out 5 cards. But we added the event listener to this div. Right here, our search results div. You could tell by just this get element by ID, and then we added an event listener to that right there. So what happens if we don't click a card? Like let's say that we click outside this card. Are we gonna get an event or no? Do
you
we?
shouldn't get an event activated.
If I click right here, am I within this search results div or not?
I don't think so.
Let's check, just to be absolutely sure. So if I drill down, here's our search results container.
Oh.
So our search results container is everything in blue. So if I click outside of the card, are we going to get an event?
No.
Let's try.
Yes.
Yes, we still get an event because the container that's watching for events is this search results container. So whether we click inside the card or outside of the card, it's still all within the search results container. And so the cool thing about the closest method is if I click outside of this container, I'm actually in the container. So I'm inside the search results container, but I'm not inside one of the cards. And the cards are what contain the volunteer card class. So that's what we're looking for with the closest. We're looking for the closest parent with a volunteer card class. But since when I click outside the card, I'm inside the search results container that contains all of the cards, but I'm not inside one of the cards. When I click this, we still get the event object. An event is happening, and this search results container is listening for events. But because the closest method is making the event bubble up to the top of the document, so it's going to start with like search results. It's going to work its way to this div. Then it's going to work its way to the body element. Then it's going to work its way to the HTML element. That's the top of the document object model. That's the top of the DOM. And once you get there, there's nothing left. And starting from here, working your way all the way up, you never encounter an element that has a volunteer card class. And if you do, then you just need to change your code because you don't want that. But if you click inside of the card, then you're going to get the event. And using the closest, let's just say we click on this H4, we click on the title, the suicide hotline title, then that closest is going to be like, all right, we need to find an element that has a volunteer card. Let's bubble up. Let's move to our parent. The parent containing the title is this volunteer card content container here. And then it's like, okay, does this have a class of volunteer card? No. We need to move to the next parent. Does this parent have volunteer card? Yes. So this is the element we're searching for, and it stops right there. If we didn't find it right here, though, it would just bubble all the way up the parents of the whole document until it reached the HTML element. And then it's like, all right, well, I searched the whole tree, working from the element that was clicked up parent by parent, and I never found an element with a class of volunteer card. I guess it doesn't exist. Then you end up getting null.
When you do it the way you just described, it slows the page down, doesn't it? If it has enough code.
Which way?
If you don't call it the way you are, and we were to take that out, or basically the long way that you just explained, where the page would look for what it's looking for, would it slow down the response time of the page? And that's why we do it, or not?
No.
Sense.
No. So the reason why we do it is because as far as the way that we've had everything built so far, since we don't have routing built into the website yet, we can either add an event listener to every single card, or like in this case, we would have 6 event listeners. Each card would have its own event listener, and that would make things a little simpler as far as like understanding, okay, if you click this card, there's an event listener attached to this card, and that event listener is the one that triggers. But since we have so many
Right.
cards, we might have 100 cards. Instead of adding it to each individual card one by one, we just add it to the container.
You understand?
Yeah, we just add it to the container one
that
time,
doesn't-
and we listen for all events that happen within the container.
That doesn't. Once like the website is more complex, I would say, it really doesn't affect the speed of it once it's sort of up and running. But the way we do it is more efficient for the sake of what it is doing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Because
just
yeah,
kinda don't-
as far as like space wise, because you're only creating one event listener and you're handling everything with one event listener instead of like potentially 100 event listeners. You know.
Okay.
Just I'm not quite sure I quite understand why it matters if someone clicks on the empty space. Again, I'm sorry,
It doesn't.
Maybe-
So if they click on the empty space, then the event bubbles from this search container containing all the cards to the body to the HTML. So nothing happens with that event. It's just an event that happens. But if you click inside this card,
yeah.
then the event is going to bubble up to the div containing all of the content
Right.
in the card. Yeah. So if you click outside, it doesn't matter. An event is happening, but there's like thousands of events happening at all times. You're not really thinking about, you know. Like when I move this mouse right here, there's events happening. You know what I'm saying? So like there's constantly events happening in the browser. And that's part of like learning JavaScript is just understanding like all the events that you could take advantage of like making things happen when they happen. So yeah, an event is happening when you click outside, but there's no functionality attached to it because the event just bubbles up to the top of the document and it never finds a matching element basically. Yeah. All right. So these all look good. We actually only need one. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of them but one. E.target.closest. So we have so find the accurate container. Let's go ahead and console.log that. So we have our clicked card 1. And let's just check out the console. If we click this, we have our card 1. If we click on...
What's the exact purpose of the console log? What is the function that it provides, or?
This is just going to print out whatever we put inside of the console.log is going to print out here when we execute this function.
Oh, as like a troubleshoot.
Yeah, just to like see what we're getting here.
Got it.
Yep. So if I click on American Red Cross, I have this element right here. So now we have the element. So what we need to do now is we need to pull this ID off of the element. Does anyone remember how to do that?
We use element.closest.
We already did the closest. So now we have the element. So if you see we have our element.
Can you get property by ID?
Ricky's already going ahead and typing it, so let me go make a couple more lines and everyone go ahead and just give it a shot. So basically we have this element, right? This element is what we're going to be pulling the ID off of. So the element has a data set attached to it, and the data set has an ID attached to it. So
Yeah, but that ID is always changing. Right?
no. Once the card is rendered with the ID, it's going to stay the same for that card.
I'm sorry, I meant like every card has an ID, so
Every card
it's-
has a different ID.
Right.
So the one that
Right.
the one that you clicked is the clicked card.
Right. Interesting.
Yes, exactly. Who did this? Something. Dot something. Who did this? Perfect. That's what it is. It's clicked card dot something. So inside your clicked card, yes, there you go. Nice, Liz. Nice.
Yeah, that's exactly what puzzle confuses me. What is dataset.id?
So data.
What makes the page between datasets.id to, I think the attribute that we gave was data-id. How does
Yes.
one thing become another?
Yeah, so I could go ahead and let's say I wanted to add extra data here. Let's just say I wanted to add data. Let's say user profile. So I could.
Oh, sorry. Is it a convention to prefix data dash something? Is it a convention?
Yeah. So data is the actual attribute, and then dash is going to be the name of the property that you add to the data set. So when we do data, no, go ahead.
If we would not use the prefix as data, would it still work if we try to access dataset.something?
No, because data is the actual object that's going to be stored on the element, and then what comes after is the properties we're adding to it. So I could do user profile and add like some other string or something like that. And so same thing, we'll target it like the way we're targeting it right now, data set, but it would be user profile. So the DOM would actually cut out the dash too and create camel case, even though if you look at the way that I created the data, it's user dash profile. When you look on the data set and you're extracting it out of the data set, it would actually be camel case. So that's something.
Okay, I get it.
Yep.
So just for the sake of another example, let's say that from the clicked card variable, we wanted to pull off the name of the class attached to it. We couldn't use dataset, right? Because the class attribute, it's not prefixed with data dash something.
Yeah, you could pull off the class if you wanted to, but yeah.
Not with this.
Not with dataset. Dataset is strictly for
got
data attributes. Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. Cool.
Question.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we got now that we got what we were looking for, which is the ID of the target that we clicked, of the event, of the card that we clicked in the event. The E, right? That's the object, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we say E target, right, dot ID, at this point, would we have the ID of the one that we clicked?
Yes.
So we don't have to say constant card ID equal click card. Dataset dot ID. Could we simply say constant, name a constant, E dot target dot ID?
E.target.id.
Yeah, like if we say constant.
Are you saying on line 239?
No, down under after we get the closest one, right?
Uh-huh.
Could we say constant hunter equals e-target.id?
No.
What would we get if we did that?
If you did e.target.id, yeah, so you still have access.
No, after you.
I know. I'm just highlighting it. So if you did, we still have access to the event object. So if we did e.target.id, there may be an ID on the element. So let's just say we clicked on one of the cards and the target isn't necessarily the element that we need. We need the element that has volunteer card attached to it. The target isn't necessarily that container, that card. It could be the paragraph. It could be the description. It could be the title. It could be. So that's the reason why we call closest, because e.target is not necessarily the element that we need. So if we did e.target.id, it might just be giving us the ID of like this element, which is not what we need.
So E is the object. Target is
the element that we clicked
on the object. So it might not be what we're looking for.
Yeah, we might have clicked like the H4.
Okay.
So if we just do e.target.id, it's going to give us the ID of this H4. But since there's no ID on this H4, there's only a class, then it would return null.
So target is the element that we clicked on.
Yes, and we don't need the target in this case because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different elements that we could click inside each card. So we want to, whatever one we click, we want the event to bubble up to the card, and then we'll extract the ID off of that card. Yeah, so e.target.id wouldn't work.
So next question, is there a way to render the information we want, but hide the information, not hide it, but make it so that we never get anything but a particular element that we want?
Yeah, that's literally this line right here, 239. We're only going to get the element that has a class of volunteer card. Unless we click outside of a card, then we're not going to get anything. All right. So we have. Go ahead.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So what if we put like a comma, you know, something else, blah 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 blah, you know?
Google. Do a search with ChatGPT or Google and just say.
I guess an element, right?
Parameters. How many parameters does the closest method take?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. And then let us know when you find it. So we have card 1, card 2. Let's go ahead and console.log. We'll do card ID 1 and just see what happens. So click this. So if I click this card right here, what should I get for this console.log on 244?
Nothing.
We should get something. I hope.
3.
3. We should get 3.
Okay, you have the ID, the data set, and the clicked card. So
Yes.
it should be 3.
Uncaught type error, cannot read properties of undefined. So let's see. No, you're good with that. Let or const, it doesn't really matter. I initialize everything as const just to begin with, and then very rarely do you have to change it. So let's do this. Card ID. Let's check out what data set is. Cannot read properties of undefined. Click card. We have something, right? Cannot read properties of undefined. All right, so we're getting, does anyone know what this is? Take a guess. So if I run this, I want you to look at, so we're getting an error here. So take a look at where the error is occurring, read the error, and give it a shot. T's doing a little Google search right now, so let me ask Liz. I think that was yours, right? 242 card ID.
I tagged on to Ricky's.
Oh, that's
It
Ricky.
says it's a type error. Could that be the variable is the wrong type?
Type error cannot read
Yeah.
properties of undefined reading ID. So it's reading ID off of
ID
something
is
that's
not a
off of a
constant,
property that's not defined. On line 242.
There was the capital S.
There we go. You got it. Someone changed it. I don't know who that was, but yep. Yeah, so it was
I'm
this
just fine
this
with it.
right here. So if we click on, all right, let's go back to this one. We should get 3. And yes, we get 3. Perfect. So now we have the ID that we need to find the object that has the ID we're looking for.
Looks like we're getting an error.
We are, but that's, you don't have to worry about that for now. Yeah, that's down here just because this isn't, vol isn't defined, but that's okay. So I could go ahead and just cut that out and we should be good to go. Yeah.
Sorry, what's your question?
So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this out. So we have our card ID. Now we have exactly what we need. Now we need to use this ID. Basically what we want to do is we want to iterate over this volunteer list. And we want to compare our ID against each object ID. And when we find an object that matches the ID, our ID, then we return that object, and that's our volunteer opportunity. So we can go ahead and delete this console log, and so we have.
For that, you can use the array filter method.
That's one way to do it. All right, so hold on. Before you go ahead and start doing it,
I can. My internet's really messed up right now because of some like maintenance they got going on, so I can't really access anything other than this chat right now.
Who's that?
Angel.
Angel, what's up? What's up?
Hi.
That's okay. So there's a few different methods you can use. There's a few different strategies you could use. I'm going to challenge a couple different people to try it a couple different ways. And so basically what we want to do now is we want to iterate over the volunteer, what are we calling it? Our volunteer list that starts on line 1. So iterate over volunteer list and find the volunteer object with an ID that matches our ID. So we have, like Angel said, filter. We have find, and we have, let's just say traditional. Yeah, give it a shot. Try it out. Why not? I want to see let's get and if you could think of another one besides those are like typically the ones I would see for something like this. I want to see traditional, but I'd like to see someone give that a shot. That'd be funny. And just get some experience. So, can anyone think of another way that we could do this?
Yeah, this.
Um,
Go ahead.
sorry, can you scroll up to the objects list?
Yes.
You could possibly just like straight up just check the objects list for that number of the entry.
Check the objects list for that. How?
The volunteer list, and then just put the ID in brackets. So you would do like volunteer list bracket ID bracket.
Okay. Do that. You do that one then. I'm gonna.
I can't because my internet's really bad right now. So I can't, like, if I click the link, it won't take me anywhere right now.
Oh, okay. Well, someone else go
Sorry.
ahead and do that. That's the most straightforward, efficient, and direct way. So give that one a shot. How are you targeting the specific object, Angel. Since you can't do it,
Hold on
I'll
one
just talk.
second.
Yeah,
Well,
as they build theirs, I'll just talk to you through this direct access one.
if the ID always matches the position, then that would work, but it's not always gonna do that.
Always matches the position.
Yeah, so like if ID 0 is in position of the array, if is in position 0 inside the array, then it would work. Because you would just have to put the. Do you see in the chat that I put in?
No, let me see. Volunteer list, card ID. Yeah. So if the array was an object whose properties, so like if the array was actually an object and each opportunity was like represented like this, basically, something like that.
Yeah.
Then you'd be able
Am I
to.
doing that right?
Yeah. If it was an object, you could do that. Volunteer list. Find for each volunteer. You're checking the ID against the card ID that we found. Nice. So we'll go ahead and console.log this volunteer object. We'll check that out. Nice. Tanya's giving it a shot too. Nice. I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Sorry. Traditional, I was talking something more like, oh, Ricky's gonna do it.
I was also gonna work on that.
Go ahead, give it a shot. So for traditional, I was talking more of like a, I would never do it like this though. Oh man. Yeah, I would never do it like that. For each would actually be
For
modifying.
each is the reverse of for loop, right? Where it does it at the end and then goes back up, or
No, it's still, it's iterating over the list. It's just not returning anything.
oh, okay.
I typed it in the chat. Maybe that would way would work.
I think this would work. ID. We're calling it ID, right? Yeah, ID equals.
I missed the let in front of the volunteer list, but
I wonder if I got this right here. Let's try it out. Cool. Let me see. For volunteer of volunteer list, if volunteer.id equals, yeah, that should work too. Though return, you would actually return from the function. Like you would just leave the function, which we still have to like create the markup and all that stuff. So if you actually returned, I think you just want to break at that point.
oh,
Right.
Yeah, have a variable that you could store your volunteer into, and then yeah, kind of like how I did it here.
I see. Okay.
All right, who did this one right here? That was Ricky, right? I think Ricky did too. and then we got T's working on this one, right? Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and const volunteer. Let me just switch that up for you. Filter. You're gonna use the filter. Didn't someone use filter too? No, you used find. Yeah, I would use find. The reason why I would use find on this is because I'm only looking for one. And find will allow me to just find. It's gonna... I believe it's just going to return the first one you find. And since we know that these are all unique IDs, you're not looking for more than one. You would just use find. If you were looking for like, if you were going through the volunteer list and you were looking for like specific types of opportunities that required certain skills, then you would want to filter like, if you were looking for like any opportunity that consists of people skills, then you would iterate through it, and anyone that had people skills in their skills property, then you would return that one. You would return an array, and that'd be different. But since we're only looking for one ID and the ID is unique, I would definitely find. Definitely seems like the best way to go here. Cool. Is either this or this, not really sure, to be honest. Yeah, so basically we'll go ahead and comment this out just for now so we could test out these other ones here. For each, if VID equals card ID, then I guess technically you could, yeah, you created your volunteer object, so you could say if it matches, then you would just do like maybe volunteer object equals V. Equals V. That should store it in there. But the problem with for each is even if you do this, you're not going to break out. You're not going to break out of here. I'm not positive how you break out of for each. I'm not even sure if you can break out of for each. I'm pretty sure it's just going to do it regardless of whether you encounter it or not. So we can cut.
Jim, could you show a little more of the code and less of the users?
Hold on just 1 second. More of the code, what do you mean? Show more.
Your screen, to the right of your screen, some of the code is scrolled off. You can't see it. Where to the left of your screen is showing all the user boxes, which we don't need to see.
Oh, yeah. There's not really much code that you can't see for the most part, but yeah, there you go. All right, cool. So let's try this out. So we have T gave it a shot. Good try. We got iterate over. So that's that to do. We got that. Complete this function. Render volunteer details page. So that's, I guess we're working on these two right now. All right. So who did this one? Ricky, right?
Yeah, Ricky, sorry.
You want to go ahead and just explain what you did here?
I googled the function method and I landed on the developer Mozilla website, and it says, hold on, now I closed it, and it says it takes two parameters. No, sorry, it takes one parameter, which is a function, a so-called callback function, which also takes one parameter. God, I'm so bad at explaining. Let me roll back everything.
No, you're good. This is what it's all about.
The find function only works on arrays. And what it does is it iterates through every element. And for each element, gives that element to a callback function. And what the callback function does, checks, well, that's up to us developers implementing the logic. And what my callback function here does, it only checks the current whatever element, does his ID matches the card ID?
Mm-hmm.
I know my explanation is crap.
No, that's good. That's what it's all about. That's like one of the main reasons we even come in here and practice together is, you know, it's like one of the reasons we do the data structure and algorithm contests and the solution sharing sessions too, because it's like we're coding all day and we're building websites and we could all do that stuff. I know some people who've been coding for, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they know how to do anything and everything. They could find it in the documentation, they could build anything, but when it comes to explaining it, it's like a whole nother thing, you know? And that's actually a skill. It's a good skill to have too, because if you could articulate this stuff, that's huge. So it's all good, man. The fact that you're even trying to explain it is amazing. So good job. All right, cool. So that looks good. We're going to go ahead and run this in the browser and just see what we get. So let's keep our eyes on the console. We'll just click on this card here and we get undefined, undefined, undefined. What's going on?
Line 247, 256, and 265.
Yep. 247,
Is
250.
it good practice just to copy and paste so that you don't have to go up and down each time you're trying to correct it?
Copy and paste the whole data set?
Well, just or to Windows basically.
What do you mean?
If you have to go up and down all the time to figure out what you did wrong, would it be easier or harder just to have looking at one part of the code and another part of the code?
Yes. This is part of the struggle right here. So
yeah,
I want you all to feel the struggle. And yeah, I'm still able to find things pretty quickly, which it's not like super fast, but it's pretty quickly. I was just looking at the name of volunteer list and then popping back down to where we're all at. Eventually though, doing this, jumping back and forth, it's not going to be that fast. If you're already starting to feel the pain a little bit now, it's going to get worse. I want it to get worse, so I expect it to get worse, and we're going to start feeling the pain even a little bit more. And then we're going to start pulling everything, extracting everything out of this file here, so we won't be jumping around the same file. We'll have like very, very just crisp, good
right.
yeah, like each file will be dedicated to something specific.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, but what's happening here? So what's the problem? Let's just start with one at a time, right? I'm gonna go ahead and comment out these ones, and we'll start with just Ricky's. So we have Ricky 1, undefined. What's going on here?
Do you mind if I try to console log
Yep, that's exactly what I
both
was
the
gonna say.
elements that I'm trying to?
Mm-hmm.
We are gonna see a lot of them, though, right?
Yeah. T's getting her question answered a lot
So,
today.
yeah, I already got it. So essentially 3. Yeah. There's only 3 that can go into the parentheses. But it looks like I Googled it and it said your variable isn't declared but not assigned, it's not assigned a value. So you have to assign it a value, which I'm guessing you you're already doing. So
Yeah, right here. So you can see VID equals card ID. And so they're equal. They're equal right here. This is gonna be a fun one.
yeah, but I thought that would come before all that.
Y'all are about to be so frustrated. Alright, I wanna see you guys. I wanna see. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but there was actually one day where I was struggling so hard with a bug on the site, and it was so frustrating. Seriously, hours I spent trying to figure out what it was, and yeah. All right, so let's try this out. All right, so we click on this card. Ah, Ricky got it. Ricky figured it out. Who added this typo? Was that you, Ricky?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. You got
it. It felt impossible because I was getting the same values.
Yes.
But for some reason, they came out in different colors. I'm not sure if it matters.
Yeah, so you could see too, if you zoom in, that numbers are blue and one is black. So that's like the big clue.
That's cool. I know.
Yeah. So it looks like our IDs are being stored as numbers, and the data set is actually storing it as strings. I believe you could just add like a plus in front of that right there, and that should fix it. Yeah, so now we got two numbers. So if you want to convert the ID from a string to a number, you could just add a plus right in front of, like when you go to return it to the card ID, just add a plus. That's a implicit conversion to a number in JavaScript. And then you should be good to go.
Is that because you're basically adding it to 0?
I don't know. I never looked into it. I just know that if you add a plus before a string, it'll convert it into a number. That's a good question, though. I'd be curious if you want to do a quick little search. Yeah.
What if you actually write 0 plus? Would it work?
Like 0 plus?
Yeah.
I think if you did 0 plus, then it would convert the number into a string. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not positive. Let's try. Yeah, it converts it into a string.
Okay, so okay, there you go. So it's not a 0.
Yeah, so it's not 0 plus. Yep. All right, cool. So now we got it. Another way you could do it, but I would never recommend this, is if you know that this is a number and you know that this is a string, you could always just remove one of these equal signs and do like just a regular equality operator, but I like to have everything strict equality. I just feel better that way. I feel like the code is better that way. And so, all right, cool. So go ahead and just tidy that up and we should be good to go. Cool, cool. Boom. Now we all have, and there you go. We're actually getting some stuff rendered now. So the next step is going to be to take this volunteer object and inject all of the details into this HTML right here. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to delete these two. We'll delete the console log. There we go. We will go ahead and delete all of this. All right, so now we have our volunteer object. I'm going to go ahead and just change it to vol to make it simpler. And we'll call this vol card. I feel like it's a little clearer. And we could just say ID. That's cool. All right, now we have this volunteer object. So if I go ahead and I click on own my puppy, now I have this own my puppy object. So I actually have access to this right here. And so what we want to do is we want to kind of move through this template and inject our JavaScript. So if you look at the name, Own My Puppy, it's going to be vol.name. So I could come down here, and for the organization name, I could do vol.name. And so now, when I go ahead and click on, let's say, Forever Paws, we get Forever Paws Animal Shelter. Boom. And then
That's amazing.
it's
Wow.
cool. It's cool, right? Cool. And then home, volunteer still work. And yeah, this one says gift of bread. All right, cool. So we have about 7 more minutes. We won't go ahead and we'll start that on Monday where we left off. We'll go ahead, add the dynamic stuff here, and then yeah, that'll be good. And then I mean, we'll think about what we have to do next. But as far as I could see, like the functionality of this feature is almost done. So we can go ahead and style it. We'll make it look really good. And then after we style it and it looks fresh, it's looking like a really nice, like modern day site. Then we're going to start getting into extracting all of this out of the JavaScript. I might even say let's keep it all in here until we start working on the next feature. I think the next feature that we work on should be giving nonprofit organizations a form where they could fill it out and they could enter their own information. That way we don't have to rely on like this dummy data. We could actually like create our own organizations. And once we start adding another features code to this main.js, we're really going to start feeling the pain. So that's what I want. And then once we start mixing features in the same JavaScript file, it's going to get real confusing real quick. Hopefully with the next feature, everybody's learning really fast, you know? So that's really good. I think as we move through, this is just the first feature. So when we get to like our third, fourth, fifth feature, y'all are going to be busting out features pretty quick. It's going to be nice to see.
So hang on. Sorry, hang on.
Go ahead.
Sorry. You said something about people are gonna fill out a form. I mean, I think this is such a great idea because this will allow anyone to go to this app and fill out their information as opposed to us doing it, you know?
Exactly.
Or getting it. Yeah, that's so cool. Wow.
Yeah, eventually we'll be able to, it'll get to the point when we get to the goal really is like get to the point where it's like, all right, we've busted out like 3 features together. Ricky, T, and Angel, you're working on this feature. Like y'all are the team working on this feature simultaneously while like Liz, Lori, and Javier are working on another feature. And I'll kind of help everybody working through their features and that sort of thing. So that's the goal. Like when you get to the point where you have everybody working on their own features, or even when you get to the point where you're like, hey, I think I'm ready to just take on a feature myself and start creating your own branches and making your own pull requests. Like, I think at that point you are job ready. Like, you should definitely be applying for jobs by then, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or before, because you are all already getting familiar with like GitHub, working on teams, working through problems, that sort of thing. So yeah.
So to practice and condition a lot of these things, work with lead code and kind of work with the inspect and how it all ties together, or.
I'd say leak code is more of just leak code is very abstract. It's going to help you become a better problem solver and like how to break larger problems into smaller problems. But as far as like having direct application to building a website, I think you just need to build projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
So work on this project and just go it a little bit more in detail on that, or just look at this project then for conditioning your mind and conditioning your muscle memory.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start building even just your own small component or something like that, I'd say just choose a website that exists out there and just try to build it in HTML and CSS. Like do your best to just create an exact replica of something you like. And you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. You're going to make mistakes, but eventually you'll figure it out. Just go to ChatGPT, ask a lot of questions, Google, Stack Overflow, and slowly but surely you'll figure it out. The thing is just pick one small piece at a time. Like if you're like, all right, I want to rebuild the Meetup website. You're not trying to build the Meetup website. You're trying to, like, the navigation is a sub problem. The main section is a sub problem. The aside section is a sub problem. The footer is a sub problem. And even within the navigation has a left side and a right side navigation. The left side is a sub problem. The right side is let me just pull up so I can kind of like show you as I'm explaining this to you. If I go ahead and I go to meetup.com and we're looking like this whole site is one massive problem, right? But this navigation is a problem. It's a sub problem. This welcome banner is a sub problem. This aside here, upcoming events, is a sub problem. This event list is a sub problem. This website is made up of sub problems. So if you're looking at the navigation has two sub problems: the left side and the right side. And the left side also has sub problems. It has the logo and it has the input. The input also has sub problems. It has this input, it has this input, and it has this button. So like, just break it down to the smallest piece you could possibly break it down to. If you were gonna build this navigation, just build this button. You know what I'm saying? And once you get the button, then add the input to the button. You know what I'm saying? Just slowly but surely, you'll start picking it apart and you'll start building stuff a lot faster.
Okay, so that's the conditioning part that I should do.
Yeah, that's where you're gonna get the practice. If your goal is to build websites, yeah. If your goal is to become a better problem solver, just in the field of computer science, data structures, algorithms, for sure. Because that applies no matter where you go in the field of computer science, there's data structures and algorithms everywhere.
All right.
Yeah.
May I have a minute?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, so people are building websites mostly with the CMS type of programs. Like,
Depending.
Right. Okay, but if you build a JavaScript, HTML, CSS website, you have to host it. Then once you host it, you have to learn how to upload the files, put the files up there, and then when a project works on your local site doesn't mean it's going to work once you put it in the web.
Mm-hmm.
On one of my sites, one of my programs is a matching program. It works really nice. I think it's really nice. A lot of nice JavaScript in it. It works on my local drive. But when I put it in the web, the code would go there, but when you try to move a picture, an object, from one part of it to another part of it, it doesn't render it properly. And I did kind of find out why. I need to do something about it. But generally, like when you move something in JavaScript, you may move it by saying, put this picture, and when you put this picture in it, you use the URL address. So when you use a URL address in your code in your project, but then when you move it somewhere else, it's not going to know how to move the object because the URL address has changed. I found this problem in a number of applications, and this is like real stuff. When you build it, like I think this is going to be a useful application. But then there's going to be things like, okay, so when you have a form, person fills out the form, how do they send the information to your program that's being hosted? it's a little outside of this.
It's
a
there's
little
so many different things to consider too, James. Like it all depends on your project, your requirements, how you set it up, who you're using to deploy. I'd say if you're trying to deploy just an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript project and you're having trouble deploying it, depending on where you deploy it, it's different. So make sure you read the documentation of the platform.
No. This has nothing to do with where you deploy it, because I deployed my websites on 3 different websites.
Oh,
But what
it's working though?
What I would like to see is that we actually try to deploy this website. I think it would be a useful website for people.
This one here that we're working on?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely a step. Yeah.
It's definitely true depending on who you're hosting and whatever. But there are some problems that are generic to whatever hosting package you get. And the problem that I was describing is not a hosting.
Yeah, we're gonna be working through hosting this too. This is gonna be more in the advanced session, but that's coming up sooner than later for sure. I would rather deploy it like when I do a website, I like to deploy it even before I start building code, just so I know that it's deployed. But yeah, we'll get into that a lot more. It's 8:05, so we're gonna be hopping over to the data structure and algorithm channel for those who want to join us. It's Thursday. It's Friday, basically, for me. So I will see y'all. Thank you.
And thank all those people who worked on the problem.
Thank you. See you guys.
Yeah, good job tonight, everybody.
Thank you guys.
Good job. I'll see y'all on either in a couple minutes or on Monday.
All right.
Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
What's up? I saw you popping back in and hopping around looking for the right place to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I was late and then I realized it was a different class.
Yeah.
And then I jumped around and nobody was on the other call, so I hopped back in. And now I think I'm in the right place.
Cool. Yeah, we'll give everyone just a few minutes to pop in. Usually they're trickling in till about 8:10, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna get up real quick and then I'll come back.
Yeah, cool. I'll see you in a minute. We got K. I see K ... I can't see the rest of your name. What's going on?
I think that you talk about me, is Kai, and I just tried to join the group as much as I could, but for the time difference, I work in Pacific time zone, so basically I just finished working. I couldn't join like earlier meeting.
Yeah, what time zone are you in?
I'm in Eastern time zone, but I work in Pacific time zone, so basically 5 o'clock is 8 o'clock here.
Gotcha. I'm in the Eastern time zone too.
Yeah, I mean, like this group is like based in DC, I guess, if I read the instruction in Meetup correctly.
Yep. Yeah, cool. We're
Yeah, I'm very close to DC.
Okay, cool. Nice. You're close to me then. I'm up in Connecticut. Nice. How long you been in the industry for?
For almost 2 years, but to be honest, my job is not use much of coding. So try to keep myself having knowledge about coding. So that's why I try to looking for the group that I can learn and I can participate in.
Nice. That's cool. I come from a field outside of coding as well. I come from sales management. I've been in the solar industry for basically my whole career, and I just started coding in like 2017 because I realized that some of the younger people on my team were just really tech savvy. I'm like, man, I just didn't feel like I was tech savvy enough. Like I felt like in the environment that we live in today, like I'm nowhere near where I need to be. I've always been great at communicating with people and talking. I'm just a people person, like high-fiving strangers in the line at the store, making friends everywhere I go. But like, I felt like I
We
just
can
didn't have the tech skills, you know. So I'm like, I need to learn coding, and I didn't really take it seriously for a few years till COVID hit. Really, like 2021, I started really taking it seriously, like 8+ hours a day at least.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, really
I
diving deep. What do you do?
Actually, I work very closely with like the developer team and such. I work as the data testing engineer, but most likely focus on data, and pretty much I don't get a chance. I don't get much chance to do coding.
What kind of
I
data?
just like what kind of data. I work for streaming company, so basically they have the data from every user that they for example, like, so if you listen to Spotify, like every 10 seconds or 20 seconds, they will know that you listen, how long you listen, because of they will have something called heartbeat or ping. It depends. And I didn't work for Spotify though. So they will send that back to the database, and they're collecting the data. And in that database, they will know like the geolocation where you are listening to, or you use VPN, that is another story. And they will know what genre of the music you are listening, how often you change the song or such. And I verify those data. But in my case, I work for the TV streaming, not the music.
Gotcha. That's cool. That's cool.
Cool.
What's
I
up?
guess so. But again, I wish I could do more coding.
Yeah, totally. Do they give you that kind of opportunity where they give you sort of, do they give you any ability to like branch out into other areas of the business and get practice coding with real projects or anything like that, or are you kind of limited?
They kind of under table allow me to, like, the developer in my team, they let me sneak in to see what is going on. But to my baby step knowledge, and their advanced, like, very high level skill, so I don't understand most part of of the code that they show me.
Yeah. They're like, "Where's Kai? He's with the developer team again. Tell him to stop leaving. He's got real work to do."
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm just playing. I was
So I mean, actually, it's not a secret. If you heard the company called Pluto TV, the app called Pluto.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. Daniel, you heard of it?
So basically, Pluto TV and Paramount Picture is pretty much like the sisters company. And because the Paramount has a lot of movie, right? And all movie nobody watch, so they put that in Pluto TV and let people watch for free. But we collect the money, revenue by advertisement. So
Yeah.
basically, because of, like, for the old movie, if you charge people to watch it, nobody want to watch that. No want to pay to watch, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if you're interested in like the machine learning type stuff, but we're building a project right now with New York City taxi data, and that has some coding. We're using Python for that, and then yeah, that's like machine learning, lots of data, that sort of thing. So you might just fit right in with that, and that's just a free event that everyone has access to. So feel free to join us. We do that Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So pop in anytime.
I might be able to join on Friday as well, since nobody really cares, like, Friday evening.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's all good. If you're here, we'll be here. It's cool, man, because I'm newer to the machine learning type stuff and the big data and all the statistic lingo, but it's so cool seeing how I was so surprised because we're going through the data and I was like we were given like 10 different features, so 10 different categories basically, and we're basically mixing and matching categories. So we take like 2 categories and create a new category with those categories, like pickup coordinates and drop off coordinates and the distance, and we're using attributes to create like the speed that was traveled or the velocity or like sort of stuff like that. But we started going over this other data scientist project and the way that he's able to take 10 attributes, 10 pieces of data, 10 columns, and expand it to 61 columns and create like so much more information just blew my mind. I was like, it just blew my mind. So it's cool. I'm really getting into this kind of stuff, but it's awesome. Sky's the limit. There's so many different things to explore in the world of computer science. You have to kind of pick one, you know?
Yes, that's very nice. But first of all, I have to tell you in advance that I don't have any knowledge on Python. Basically, I don't know anything. Since you mentioned Python earlier.
Me neither.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me neither. I struggle by.
But I heard it's pretty easy compared to every other languages.
Oh yeah, if I could go back and start over, I would start with Python for sure. Save me so much time.
Wow.
All right, cool. We got a few people in here. What's up, Daniel?
All good. All good. I just want to mention that I have soccer tonight, so I might have to show my code earlier if possible.
All right, you could
'Cause,
go.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, you could go ahead. I've been working on the hard problem and it's solved, but I can't. I was trying to explain it today out loud and I'm like, I can't explain this to people. So I need to like work through it a little bit more before I actually share the solution. Fernando, what's up, man?
Your mic is muted, Fernando.
He's over there just talking to himself.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Hi guys.
Hey, hey.
Hi.
Yes, I've been trying to solve the hard one. I just stuck with some test cases. And yeah, I'm still checking that.
Cool, cool. Awesome. I'm still thinking about that mathematical solution you shared yesterday, man. I love the mathematical solutions, man. They're so efficient. They're so nice. I love them.
Yeah.
You know who likes mathematical solutions?
Who?
Jay Cummings.
Yo, why you playing with me, bro?
I don't know. I just.
You're never gonna let me live that down, huh?
You know, it's funny because it's such a nerdy thing, but I enjoy it. I like it.
That's
I'm
funny.
gonna read it one day. You know that.
Yeah. We got. So Kai's new. Priyanka, what's up? Where are you checking in from?
I'm checking in from New York. So East Coast again. Second class, very excited. Very rusty, I realize, because it's one thing to kind of think through a problem, and then there's another thing, a whole other thing when you try to do it and then nothing's working. So I realize how rusty I am. And in my job, we don't really do a lot of data structures and algorithms, even though we use React. It's a lot of like web page building, website maintenance, and a lot of that stuff. So I haven't done this stuff in years, and so I have a lot to learn, is what I feel. So excited.
Awesome, cool. Thanks for checking in. Big Apple checking in.
Yeah.
That's good though. I like when people are rusty when they first show up. It's like when you take off like 6 months from the gym, or like someone who's never gone to the gym and then they start going to the gym. You see the biggest gains in the beginning, you know, and then you start plateauing, you know. So.
Yeah, I hope there's another rise in my learning, because I keep starting and then I get distracted and then I stop. So this time I want to start and stay there.
Stay learning. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that mindset. Awesome. Well, welcome. And Liz,
Thank
welcome back. Long time no see.
Yeah.
Nick, I would say hi, but I know you don't have a mic, and I don't think you're buying one anytime soon. You know what? It's going to be so funny when
you're dressed, I can mail you some headphones.
I used to like take 15 minutes to just make fun of Nick. I'm like, we're not starting this meeting until Nick unmutes. I'm like, Nick, if you don't unmute, I'm kicking you out of the session. I used to mess around with Nick. He's funny, man. Well, he might be a he. I don't know. You've never said hey. But you've been solving problems, and you've been joining us, and you've been sticking with it. You've been consistent, and I appreciate your presence even if you're not talking. But I'm waiting for that day when Nick unmutes and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm gonna be like, "No way, Nick." Anyways, let's get to it. Cool. So I will. Daniel, you said you wanted to share first. You got the easy one, or where do you want to start?
The easy one. I read the medium one, and I thought it was so poorly written that I didn't even give it a try. And I'm gonna be honest. I thought the medium problem was so pointless and poorly written that I didn't want to take much of my time with that. But of course, I'm sure somebody disagrees, but that's fine. The easy one, I did it. I can share my screen and tell you how I did it if you want.
Cool. Let's check it out.
Okay, let's see. First, I'm gonna try to explain the problem. So, substrings of size 3 with distinct characters. So basically, you receive a string. It says right here, parameter string, and you need to return a number, right? So you receive this string here, and you need substrings of size 3. So if you start here, you get X, Y, Z, Y. Oh God, why can't I select this? It's code Y, Z, 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 A, and ZAZ. So there are 4 substrings. So the output is going to be 1. Why? Because you only want the good ones, the ones that have distinct characters. XYZ has distinct characters. X, Y, and Z are different letters, right? YZZ, it has a character there that is appears twice. Here Z appears twice too, and here Z also appears twice. So you don't want those. You only want the good ones, which are the ones where all the 3 characters are distinct. So like it said here, the only good substring of length 3 is X, Y, Z. The same applies here. You have 7 substrings, of which only 4 are considered good because they have distinct characters, or in this case, letters. So this is how I did it. I initialized the counter, so count 0. Before that, I had everything in an array, but then I realized that because I need to return a number, I don't really need the array. And all the process that I was doing outside the for loop for checking stuff, I did inside the for loop. So I initialize array. I initialize a count, which is 0, and I loop this string, which is the string receiving here. So for example, this one. So let's try to do kind of like step by step. So I create and store substring using slice, which is this method here, using the sliding window technique. So what is the sliding window technique about? Basically, you have I here, and you have 3, which is the size of the substring we want, plus I. So when I starts as 0, you're gonna have the slice 0 and 3. But for the next iteration, when I is equal to 1, you're gonna have 1 and 4. Then it's 2, you're gonna have 2 and 5. So it's always gonna be a 3-letter size substring. So that's what we want, right? We want substrings that are size 3. And this is the sliding window technique because it basically stimulates that. You start here, X, Y, Z, then Y, Z, Z. These are the substrings, right? Then ZZA, then ZAZ, and then that's it. So basically we have a substring here with that for each iteration creates a substring, and I check if the substring length is the same as its set. So what does it mean? It's kind of confusing, right? Like I want to know that if all the characters are distinct. So what I do is I get the substring's length. So let's create the first example would be I believe XYZ, right? This is the first substring XYZ. So the length is 3. But what about the set? For those who don't know, a set is basically a way to like a data structure where you don't have repeat elements, right? So when it throw X, Y, Z inside of a set, it's gonna do X, Y, Z because there are no repeats, and then it's gonna say, hey, okay, so this set has size 3. So this is gonna be 3 because the substring has length 3, and the set also has size 3. So it's gonna return true, right? So we are flagging this as true. This is distinct. Now distinct is true. Cool. So what happens in the next line? I check if the substring has 3 characters. We already know that because we already checked that. But we need to check it again. And is distinct. Then you increase the count by 1. So this is going to return true because XYZ has 3 characters, right? And it's going to check this. Is this true or false? This is true. So it's going to count. So the counter is going to become 1. Count here, going to become 1. Awesome. That's very cool. That's what we wanted, right? Now let's do the next one. The next one, we're gonna remember this slice here, which was slice 0 to 3, is now gonna be 1 to 4. So that's gonna get us this substring here, Y, Z, Z, these, because it's like from 1 to 4. Okay, cool. So we're gonna check if this is distinct. We know it's not because the size, the length is 3, but the size of the set is 2. Why is that? Because the set's gonna be this. It's gonna be just Y and Z instead of Y, Z, Z, because the set doesn't store duplicates. So it's gonna return this as false. And it's gonna store here in is distinct. And then we're gonna check, does the substring has 3 characters? Yes, it does. YZZ has 3 characters. Is it distinct? No, it's not. Therefore, it's not going to count, add to the count. This is going to evaluate as false, and this is not going to add 1. So the count's still 1. Then I'm not going to repeat the whole process because for this example, all the other substrings are gonna return false, and they're gonna the counter is gonna be 1. So if I do node 1876, which is the name of the file, you can see that for this problem, it returns 1, and for this problem, it returns 4. So this one here, if we go to the problem, it shows what are the substrings. So this one, it has length 3, but the size of this, when you put it in the set, would be 2 because it has 2A, so it would be AB. The set here would be also AB. The set would also be AB because it has an extra B. This one would be fine. We would add it because it has ABC. They are all distinct. This also would be fine because they're all distinct. CAB also fine because they're all distinct, and ABC also fine because they're all distinct, and everything that I listed is here. These ones would be eliminated because they have duplicate characters, right? So that's how I did it. I basically did this. At first, I use it. I used an array to store every single substring and push to it. But then I thought, okay, that doesn't make sense. Why am I creating extra storage if all I need is to know if the substring checks all marks, which has a size of 3 and is distinct. Then I just substituted to this for a counter. So, and after all that, after all the loop, it just returns the count, which in the first problem is 1 and the second problem is 4. And I believe that time complexity is O(n) and space complexity is O(3), right? Because I believe that slice is going to be always 2 characters or less. And the set is the worst case scenario is that they're all distinct characters. So it's going to be 3 characters at most. It's never going to be more than that. And count is just, we know it's O(1) because it's just like digits, right? So that's why I think it's O(3), which of course is like the same as pretty much O(1). So that's how I feel about it.
I think the
Does
time.
anyone has an issue?
Yeah, I think the time complexity would actually be O of n squared because of the slice
Okay, so
method.
slice?
So yeah, so
Okay.
even though the slice is only ever going to be 3, worst case
Mhm.
scenario is that you might have to iterate from the beginning to the end of the string.
Okay.
Yeah, so I believe slice is O of n. Worst case scenario, so that would technically make it O of n squared. But for how much?
Okay.
How long is the string? 100? 1,000? I know it's small.
Yeah, it's really small. It's 100. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so n squared is totally fine for something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for noticing that because I didn't think of that as a loop because I thought you're not actually mutating anything. You're just like slicing, just getting this thing that's very small. I'm not iterating through the whole thing, even though I am, right? Because I'm iterating through the whole thing, but I'm doing it with a sliding window technique. But I'm still going through all the length of the DS string, right?
Mm-hmm. It's very straightforward.
Ooh,
If it wasn't
okay.
for all the comments, it would be a very straightforward and succinct solution, though. I think it's really
Sure.
nice. It's a
Yeah,
good
that's
solution.
without the comments.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though,
Sure.
or not just for Daniel, but for anyone. How could we turn this into an O of n solution?
That's a good way of thinking. Oh, maybe we need to have 2 pointers outside of the for loop and just I don't know.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Does anyone else have any thoughts? It might be ugly though.
I have a
Well,
question
Yeah.
before we look at a different way. Um, in this line 9 here, when you get the is distinct,
yeah.
is it necessary to compare the length of the 2 strings, or could we just say substring equals new set substring? Like, why do we need to compare the length?
Because we don't want any substring that has duplicate characters. So
But if you say new set substring, would it remove the duplicates?
yes, this line, this part of the. Let me do this. Can you?
Yeah.
This part here, when you create a new set and you put a string inside, it basically gets the string. Let's say this one here, right? And removes the duplicate characters. So this is
So it
going
would
to
be
become
YZ.
YZ, which I then check the size of, which is 2. So basically, this is a statement. 3 equals 2, and that is false. That
But then
stands
if we did
for
the
that.
same thing, and if you're comparing YZZ equals YZ, would that not be the same thing?
Well,
What do you mean?
one is a string and one is a set, which is an object.
Oh.
And since one is a string, that one's being stored by value, and the array is, or the set is being stored by reference.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're gonna be
okay.
comparing a string against an object, which they'll never be equal, even if they
I
contain
see.
the same elements. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that you were curious about the structure, the data structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry. I don't know much about sets.
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
No,
But
you're
yeah,
good. That's good. That's good.
This
Yeah.
is not a string. This is not a string. This is
Right.
a set. I just gave the example because it's easier to understand, but you're correct. I should have been more accurate.
No, I think you were fine. This is a great solution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Jim, any ideas on how to make it O1? Sorry, ON?
I do. I wanted to see if anyone else had anything. I'll go ahead and share my screen really quickly. I'll just
Okay.
I don't want to like
I'm
take
gonna
too
stop
much
sharing
time.
mine.
Yeah. I don't want to take too much time like working through a solution with everybody here, but let me just jot an idea
Thanks
down.
for the feedback, by the way.
Yeah, good job, man.
I gotta pay attention to this kind of stuff like slice. I never think of methods as this. I always think of loops as ON.
Let me see. All right, so let me go ahead and just create a. What number is it? 20 what?
It's 1876.
1876.
Substrings of size 3 with distinct characters.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to go ahead and share their solution too, that's totally fine. Feel free. I'm just gonna pull this up. So if we did something like, and I'm just kind of winging it here, if we did something like, if we just looped over and we started from 0, actually, what's going to be the length of the string? It's going to be 1.
3.
Well, I'm on the same one, right? The length of the string is going to be anywhere from 1 to 100. So as long as it's...
Okay.
If it is less than 3, then we could just return 0, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if s dot length is less than 3, just return 0. Otherwise, I don't think we even have to start at 0. I think we could just start at 2, and then do, well, I is less than s dot length.
Okay.
Plus plus, and then if we did something,
you're already considering that elements 0, 1, and 2 they are a valid substring, right?
Distinct? 0, 1, and 2. Yeah, they're all characters, right? So if I did like let's see.
But what if they're not distinct? What if it's like AAZ?
That's what I'm saying. If I did this. Then let the third character equals SI. Then I could just say let is distinct equals C1 is not equal to C2 and C1 is not equal to C3 and
that's good.
C2 is not equal to C3. And then if is distinct count plus plus, I think. You think this would work? Count. And then, yeah. So if it's less than 3, return 0. Initialize count is 0. Start. So let me grab just a test case here. Let's say we use this one here. Console.log. DSA competitive problems easy. All right. Node 5 4. What's it supposed to be? 4?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
works.
Try the other one maybe.
Let me just post it in leak code. And
Yeah.
see if it
Sure.
works.
Sure.
And then if it's okay.
Yeah. Pretty good, man. Wow. Very impressed.
That's
I
good.
still don't understand why you start with I too. Oh, because you don't. Okay, I get it. All right, forget
Yeah,
it. Because you don't want to start from 0 because you have to check. Otherwise, it's gonna be -2. Okay, I get it.
So I'm just starting.
That's
at the third
pretty
character.
good.
That's solid. That
It's
would turn
ugly.
it
You're
into
right. It's
man.
ugly, but
Yeah. Well, this part is ugly. I don't like
Yeah.
that, but yeah. So this would be O fan. That's cool.
Question: Why did you start with 2 and not 0?
Because if I know that the length is at least 3,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna go from the third character to the end of the array. So this is gonna be character 3. SI is character 3. SI minus 1 is character 2. And character 1 is SI minus 2. So this is giving me character 1, character 2, character 3. And I don't know. For some reason, I just felt like we could start at 2.
yeah, it makes sense because the in line 11, C1 is gonna be character at index 0.
Yes.
Line 12 is gonna be index 1, and line 3 is gonna be index 3. Sorry, 2.
Yes.
So it could have been I equals 0.
Yeah.
And then S of 0 as I plus 1 and I
Yeah,
plus
and
2.
then this one would just be I plus 1, I plus
Right.
2. Yeah. Yeah, we could have done that too, but then I had to like think about where I'm ending with the length, like S dot length minus 2, I guess.
I see.
Something like that. I don't know, it just felt easier if I started it too.
It's a really good solution. So that's ON 01?
Oh, bad.
Yeah, time complexity is ON, but what about space? 01, right?
01, yes.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
That's really good.
Yep. Yeah, that's solid. That's a good one. Anyone else want to share problem 1, or anyone have any questions on either of the 2 solutions that were shared so far?
No. I have to go. So have a good time, everyone.
All right, score a goal for me, Daniel.
Never mind.
I'll try.
I have a question for Daniel, but he need to go.
No, okay. I can answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like in your for loop over there, if you don't mind sharing real quick, I just curious because of like when I see your code, right? I was thinking in if you don't mind.
Do you want me to remove the comments?
No, it doesn't matter. On line 12, right? So basically, when I still less than s dot length, but I will keep plus until the end. I just wonder if you don't have the issue of like in Java we call index out of bounds, something like that, because of you will have to increase that. I just don't see if you have that issue. I just wonder why.
No, I didn't have this issue, but what I had to do is because I'm not really storing anything. I'm just looping through it. Actually, I am storing something. Like my bad, I'm storing here.
And also on line 14, you still have slice at I and I plus 3 plus I. Yeah, same thing, right? So basically, once 3 plus I, it will be over the length. It's gonna be out of bound, right?
Yeah, I could.
But I don't see that issue happen, so I just wonder what is going on here. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's think about it, because for this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the length is 6, right? So let's console log that. Console log 6, and that of course would make I. That would be -3. I guess that would be 3, 6, right?
Yes.
Or maybe you want like 6 and 9 or something like that.
Yes, right.
Because
9 is already passed.
Okay, sorry, the length is 6, so I can only be 5. So that would be 8. And this would be 5, I believe. So let's see what it does. Okay, I'm gonna do it before the sorry, I'm gonna do here. 5 and 8. Let's see what it just returns. And gonna console log out of bounds or something. Let's see if there's anything then. Out of bounds just doesn't return anything. 0 and then 9. Okay, I'm not sure if it. Oh, I'm so silly. I'm not. I didn't put the variable here. So sorry. Okay, let's do it again. So z cap. Yeah, for the first problem, it stops here, and for the second problem, it stops for some reason at here.
Because you input like 5 and 8 with hard code, right?
It should be 9. It should be 9, 6 and 9. Because this one is exclusive, right? Yeah, I think this one is exclusive, right? Let's see what happens.
Hold on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, basically.
No, I asked. Sorry, go ahead.
The code is like this, right, Jim? The code is this. He wants to know like what happens when I becomes like the biggest number that it can be. Which, for example, for this one, I is gonna be the length is gonna be 6. So we know that I can be at most 5. So I can be at most 5, which means the slice would be 5, then 3 plus 5, which is 8. So he wants to know like what happens when you get there.
You're asking two questions really. One, why isn't Daniel stopping his loop at s.length -2 so that he's only including the 3? And then also what happens if he slices outside the bounds of a string?
Yes, I expect to see index out of bound kind of things. Happen, but it not.
Nice. Okay. So let's do that. You want me to put -2, right, Jim? That makes sense.
That's just JavaScript for you. It looked like it just cut off, like, even though you did for the first test case, the last letter was Z, so when you did 5 to 8, it just included a string of Z. Anything past the string, it didn't give you an out of bounds error. Most other languages, though, you'd get an error there, probably, right?
Yeah, that's what I expect because I'm more familiar with Java.
Yeah.
That was actually a pretty astute observation. I didn't think about it. That's a great feedback. Thanks for letting me know that. Because I usually don't like. I try it. If it works, it works. I kind of stop trying to optimize it because especially for this kind of problem, which is so small, it doesn't really matter that much. But you're absolutely right. If I try that in a different language, it would fail. So yeah.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people don't like about JavaScript because it even lets you do stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, man. I appreciate it. That was really cool observation.
Daniel's so friendly, man. You're good at explaining problems too.
Okay, that made me sound not very friendly.
No, I love how you break down the problems, like step by step, and explain everything you're doing. That's really cool.
I try to because that's how I understand things.
Yeah. Cool. Does anyone else have the easy that they want to share?
Okay, have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Nick, you got the easy one in Python? You could post it in the chat if you want. I'd be curious to see that.
I have a question about your solution, Jim.
Yes.
When you in the first line where you say if the string's length is less than 3, then you return 0.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be ruling out the string right off the bat? Like this, if the string has like 10 characters, don't we want to split that up into smaller substrings?
Well,
Whereas on line 6, we're saying if it's less than 3, then end the function.
yes, yes. So yeah, so that's why I just shared my screen. If you want to go ahead and see. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I asked when I just started coding out the problem is what is the length of the string? Because that's important. If the length of the string is always going to be at least 3, then I don't need this line. Because I know that no matter what string I get passed in here, it's always going to have at least a length of 3. But if you look at the constraints, you can see that the string is going to be anywhere from 1 to 100. So there's a possibility that it could be length 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And if it's length 1 and 2, then I just...
Oh, if it's less than 3 returns... Okay, I misread it, sorry.
If it's less than 3. Because I believe it said it's good if there are no repeated characters. Given a string S, return the number of good substrings of length 3. So if it's less than 3, then there's no possible chance it could be a good string. Even if it's 2 and they're different, it's still not good unless it's 3. So I could just return 0 right away.
Okay, gotcha.
This is what they call
question.
edge case. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have one more question. When is it okay to use any kind of data structures like sets, or like there's a unique something called unique that we could use, or there is a substring structure we could use? When is it okay to use all of these, or like is there any credit for doing it kind of from scratch?
I'm one of those people that I will just build code from scratch until I need to use something. So I realized that just a lot of people, they what I guess you would call it like a premature optimization. Like they just start using React and they're just building a blog website, or they're just building like a portfolio that just requires HTML and CSS. And I'm like, why are you using React? And they're like, everyone's talking about it. Everybody says to use this. Like, do you really need it?
Right.
Yeah. You know, so that's my thing. I'm like, I'm on the opposite end. I'm like, I'm not using anything unless I need it. So that's just like my mindset. But yeah. Fernando, do you have a question for that? Like, when would you use a set? When would you start using certain data structures? Unless you want to get practice with data structures, I think it's very useful to like use stuff if you're just trying to learn, you know?
Right.
For sure. Okay. What do you think, Fernando? Fernando's a savant. He impresses me with so many solutions.
Well, I think you can use a set, or depending on the problem, some kind of data structure according to the, like, there is some pattern on the problem. Like if the problem is, like in this problem, asking you just to find the distinct numbers in a group, you can like interpret that like, oh, I need to use a set, or like they're asking you like probably count the frequencies of each number. You can interpret that like, oh, I need some kind of map or dictionary, like Python. So yeah, there are some words that let you or that just drive you into some kind of data structure. Yeah.
So really understanding the nature of the problem, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there is some words. Probably I will try to explain next time. Yeah. You can recognize the problem just reading these special or keywords and the problem.
Yeah, true. There are keywords in the problem description that give away which data structures are going to be necessary for sure. And you'll see that that'll start becoming a second nature to you the more you do the data structure algorithm problems. At first, yeah, it'll start becoming obvious. That was a good answer, Fernando. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots of good questions tonight, huh?
Yeah, nice questions.
I have a lot of questions, but I'll let others share their problems first.
Nah, you're good. We have about 5 minutes left. We typically sign off around 9 o'clock. Does anyone have the medium that they wanted to share? No one? That's all good. I'm going to save the... I did this hard one here, the find maximum non-decreasing array length. I did it in C. But I just want to make sure that I'm able to describe it and explain, like just articulate it in a way that makes sense to everybody. And I'm thinking to do that, I'm going to use draw.io and just create some visualizations to just be as clear and concise as possible. Otherwise, I'm going to be fumbling around trying to make sense of this. And yeah, I'm going to save that for Monday. So yeah, if no one else wants to share any other solutions, we can kind of just chat for a couple of minutes. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions or anyone thinks of a solution they want to share, feel free to do that. Otherwise, yeah. Anyone have any fun plans for the weekend? Nick, you didn't have any solutions? Oh, that was yesterday.
I have a question again.
Yeah.
How would you do the good substrings one if it wasn't for 3 characters in the string?
If it wasn't for 3 characters in the string?
Yeah, what if it was 50?
50 characters in the string?
In the substring, or like 10.
So to make a beautiful, then it was 10?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Is it possible to nested loop? So you have for loop and you have nest another loop inside.
Because that's how I was trying to do it, and I got the right answer for one, and I didn't get the right answer for the other, so I don't know what's wrong. But I was trying to do like a for I for j loop. I know that's not a good solution.
Yeah, if you're doing... So I'm trying to think about it. I would probably... Because you're going to have to... With that, I'm not going to go ahead and create like 10 variables.
Right, yeah. Could I share my solution? Just
Yeah.
If you could see something that's awfully wrong, if someone could point it out, that'd be very helpful. Oh, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I can see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I use this substring structure. So I have all the substrings, 4 substrings here. And then I have this other for each to compare if they're unique or not. And then that I have a unique flag for that. And then I push the string into the good strings. So then I get the XYZ, which is the one good string in the first solution. Something's not right. Because this doesn't work for the second example.
Okay, so you're getting a substring from I to I plus 3, and you're pushing all of the substrings regardless of whether they're good substrings
Unique
or not.
or not.
Okay.
Yeah, just to kind of split it up and then I thought I'd merge it in the end, but then this wasn't working even.
If result equals if result dot length equals 3, it's always gonna be 3, right? Well, except for the last ones, yeah.
They were like two twos. So this is how I thought I would limit it to 3.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was probably if you did s dot length minus 2, you would probably fix that. But that works too. Cool. Okay, so you have your substrings. Unique equals true for each of the substrings. Oh, okay. So you're doing, and then for each substring, you're going from string dot length, and then all right. So you got triple nested loop, and then you're comparing string I equals string J. So you're comparing for every character. You're checking every character basically.
Yeah.
Okay, and then all right. So I would probably use a set.
Okay.
And I would probably eliminate the first loop. What do you get for the second problem? Because you said that that's wrong, but I'm curious what
I
you
get 0.
0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I have an idea. Does anyone else have anything they want to chip in? Fernando, you have any thoughts?
I'm still checking the code.
Yeah, so basically, I guess if you're getting the substring, I'm trying to think of a way to explain. I don't want you to like just start deleting chunks of your code, but let's see. So so you don't necessarily need to store the substrings in a substring array. So you could go ahead and just chop off from line 5 to 11. You could just cut that out.
Okay.
One question. This variable unique on the line 13.
Yeah.
I was thinking if you, it's like you are comparing the first substring with the others. I mean, is each substring you are comparing each character on that substring. That's the idea of this for each loop.
Yeah, I thought since this substring is really these 4, I thought each one, which is string, I can compare X, Y, Y, Z. And then if it's the same, that means it's not unique, so I return false.
Yeah. So if the first, I think this false, this is can be false with the first one, so that's why you're getting 0, because the unique is it needs to be initialized to true before this before the first iteration of the for.
Oh, you mean inside the for each?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So between the for each before the first for loop?
Yeah.
Yep.
Before the for. Yes. Probably that could solve the problem.
So that's the first one.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I know this is not the best solution, but I was wondering why it didn't even work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, that was the reason. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so it works now.
Yeah. But I would use a set in the future. I wouldn't do this IGA thing.
Yeah, what I was so basically my thought process was one with the substrings array, you're gonna be using O of n divided by 3 space that you're not gonna need, and then also with the good strings, potentially another O of n divided by 3 space. And you could eliminate all of those space requirements just by using like a count, like an integer to keep track.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so you would be able to remove lines 6 to 11, get rid of that.
Right.
Also, I like how you're using the unique, the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you're using the flag. That's a cool little mechanic there.
Yeah.
But it works, right?
It works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I could put all of this in the not have this at all, and you're saying I still do the for each?
Yeah, so it's possible to just loop over the string, get the substring I to I plus 3, and then sort of what Daniel did. Sort of what
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, but it works, and that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Good job. Nice catch, Fernando.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. Well, we have the machine learning get together tomorrow. We're actually analyzing someone else's project, which is pretty cool because he's like a data science guru. So it's nice to go through his project and just see the way that he expands data into this, just how he takes just such a small little bit of information, expands it out to massive amount of information. It's wild. It really blows my mind. And then Saturday we have the data structure and algorithm contest in the morning and at night. So feel free to join us for that too.
Awesome.
Is that gonna be similar to the one that I just we are just past our last hour here?
No.
On
So yeah, so we kind of stick with the rules of the contest. LeetCode hosts a contest every weekend, bi-weekly in the morning, and then weekly every Saturday night. And so the way we do it is we typically meet a little bit before the contest starts. We just, shoot the shit, talk a little bit before it starts, just hang out for a couple minutes. And when it starts, it's a 90-minute contest. There's 4 problems, 1 easy, 2 mediums, 1 hard. And we spend 90 minutes just working through the problems independently. We do communicate through the chat and sometimes through the microphone, but most people just stay muted, do their thing, focus, and do the best that they can on the contest. And then after the 90 minutes is over, then everybody shares their solutions. So we kind of go through, you'll see solutions in like Java and Python and all the different languages. And you'll see different algorithms for every problem. So it's pretty fun. It's a nice learning experience and it's cool. But yeah, typically we're working independently. We're not like talking and sharing the whole time like we do during this session right here. It's mostly quiet and then just everybody sharing their solutions at the end.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining tonight, and I will chat with you all soon. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. See you.